So my husband was a bit worried that we were going to have a massive argument. Hi beautiful beings, it's Rebecca, Vegan Pixie Warrior, and welcome to my YouTube channel or my podcast. In today's episode, I'm going to be talking about my liberation pledge and one of the first experiences I had after taking the pledge. And I'm hoping by the end of the video you'll learn by my mistakes that I made and how not to go about explaining the pledge to others. So we were going to the south of France to visit family, and my husband explained to his brother why I'd taken the pledge. It's important to bear in mind that my husband has not taken the liberation pledge. He is vegan, but he hasn't taken the pledge. So he explained to them why. It didn't go down too well. The initial response was that they would be insulted if I refused to break bread with them in their home at their table, which I understand. But we weren't asking them to go vegan. I think that's an important thing. And I think initially what people think is that when you're taking the pledge, you're saying that you want them to go vegan. It's not about that. Essentially, that is the goal, that it opens up conversations and they will go vegan. So it didn't go down too well. So that was the first mistake we made. I definitely should have spent time and maybe video called them and explained to them about the pledge and what it means to me and why I'm uncomfortable when people are eating animals. So we're getting ready for our trip to France, and of course we were a bit worried because France is the home of cheese and meat, and we were a bit worried that it would be difficult to get vegan options while we were in the south of France. But we looked at the Happy Cow app and there were loads of options in the nearby cities and towns, which was great. Where my brother-in-law and sister-in-law live is in a tiny little village in the south of France, just outside Aix-en-Provence. And it's exactly what you'd imagine a French village to be like. It's a little town on a hill with a church on the top, and it's just idyllic. And they've got a view of Saint Victoire from their terrace. It's just absolutely stunning. So on the first day we went to the local supermarket in this tiny little village, expecting not to find much, but if we couldn't, then we'd be buying beans and pulses and fresh veg, and we'd get by with food that way, so that wouldn't be a problem. But we were actually really surprised. There were loads of vegan options. There was vegan wine, and there was lots of options to continue our vegan diet while we were there in France, so that was a massive bonus. On the first night that we were there, it was decided we would have a barbecue. It's kind of like a tradition on the first night when we get there, we have a barbecue and just like catch up before we spend our time together, whether that be a week or a long weekend. And my brother-in-law was refusing to not eat animals with me, which was hard. So my husband cooked all our food on the barbecue first, and he brought it in, and while we were eating our food, my brother-in-law was cooking shrimp on the barbecue. So I'm sat there and I'm eating really quickly and making sure that I finish my food before he sits down. My husband noticed this and said, "Is that what I was doing?" And I said, "Yeah, it is, because I don't want to be sat at the table where animals are being eaten." So luckily I managed to finish before my brother-in-law came in with his food and sat down and ate. He didn't actually notice this was what I was doing, but the rest of the weekend my sister-in-law cooked for us and we had vegan food, and they both really enjoyed it. It did open up the conversation. My brother-in-law asked me questions and my sister-in-law asked me questions. It got heated at one point, but not in a bad way. Both myself and my brother-in-law are very passionate people, and we say what we think and we mean what we say. And so my husband was a bit worried that we were going to have a massive argument, but we didn't. It was, we hugged each other afterwards, and I think he got it. I think that made sense to him. This was like right at the end of the weekend. But in the meantime, we had been out for lunch for the day, and we went to this amazing little Korean place in Aix-en-Provence, where my brother and sister-in-law did eat animals at the table. To stop any arguments, I continued to sit there and I ate my dinner, and I was extremely uncomfortable. It caused a lot of tension at the table, which was picked up on because I was uncomfortable about it. If that happens again in the future, what I will do is I will take my plate and I will sit somewhere else on a different table. And I don't care if that causes people to be uncomfortable. What's important is I am living my pledge. So like I said, this was very early on in taking the pledge. So we all learn from these mistakes and it helps us to move on. One of the activists I know that has taken the pledge says that she offers to cook for people when she's staying in their home because it makes it easier. We did not have this option when we were in France because they're very house proud about their kitchen, and it's kind of a massive thing that you cook for your guests, and it's, you know, tradition of where they are and where they're from. But I hope this video has been helpful for you, and I hope that you can learn from my mistake that I made. If this has inspired you or given you some good advice, or you've had a similar experience, please put a comment below. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button down here and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on future content. I'd like to say a massive thank you to my Patreons for supporting me. If you do want to support me on Patreon, please check out the link below. I'll also put a link to where you can get a fork bracelet if you're taking the Liberation Pledge, and I'll pop a link to the Liberation Pledge website so you can find out more information. Thanks for watching.